Dr. Alan Morris yawned as he stared at the screen in the quiet NASA lab. It was late, almost midnight, but something kept him working. The signal had appeared 3 days ago, small at first, barely visible in the noise from deep space. Now it was clear, too clear to be natural. "Hey, got a minute?" Alan called to his colleague down the hall. Linda Grant peered around the corner, coffee mug in hand. "What's up?" "Look at this pattern. It repeats exactly every 74.3 seconds. Linda stepped closer, setting her mug down. Her eyes widened. "That's not random noise." "No, it's not." Alan pointed to a series of peaks in the waveform. "This sequence, it's the first 10 prime numbers." Within hours, the lab was filled with people. By morning, the United Nations Space Coalition had been notified. Within 3 days, the signal changed. It contained simple images now, mathematical concepts, and what appeared to be a meeting location, coordinates in the far reaches of our solar system. Commander Olivia Warren stood at attention as the UN Secretary addressed the room. "This is what we've prepared for since the coalition was formed," he said. "First contact. Commander Warren will lead the mission aboard the UNSC Pathfinder." Olivia was 42, with short brown hair streaked with gray and eyes that missed nothing. Her team would include linguists, biologists, physicists, and military personnel. They would meet whatever waited at those coordinates. "We leave in 2 weeks," she told her assembled crew. "Pack light. We might be making history." The journey took 17 days. As they approached the coordinates, a ship appeared. It seemed to unfold from nowhere, sleek and silver, at least 3 times the size of the Pathfinder. "No visible weapons," reported Chief Security Officer Greg Dias, though his hand rested near his sidearm. "Open communications," Olivia ordered. The alien ship responded immediately. A face appeared on screen. It looked almost human, but with purple-tinted skin and large, all-black eyes. It spoke, and the computer began translating. "Greetings, humans of Earth. We are the Xeraxians. We have observed your world for some time and believe you are ready to join the greater community of spacefaring civilizations." The alien, who called himself Ambassador Cleeth, explained that Earth was invited to send representatives to the Galactic Council. 37 species work together in peaceful cooperation, sharing knowledge and resources. During the next 6 hours, Olivia and her team learned about faster-than-light travel, the structure of the Council, and the classifications of different worlds. The Xeraxians seemed friendly, answering questions openly. Yet something bothered Olivia. During a break, she pulled aside Dr. Elaine Cooper, their chief psychologist. "Is it just me, or do they seem afraid?" Olivia asked quietly. Elaine nodded. "I noticed it too. Their body language shows signs of stress when we move too quickly. And did you see how they flinched when Greg laughed? They're at least 1,000 years ahead of us technologically," Olivia said. "What could they possibly fear from us?" Later, when the Xeraxian ambassador was showing them star charts, Olivia casually asked, "Have you encountered many species like ours?" The ambassador's black eyes blinked rapidly. "Several. Some did not transition well to galactic society." "What happened to them?" Greg asked. "They chose isolation over cooperation," the ambassador said, but his eyes darted away. As the meeting ended, the Xeraxians provided coordinates for the Council headquarters and invited Earth to send a diplomatic team within 6 months. Back on the Pathfinder, Olivia gathered her senior staff. "They're hiding something," she said. "I want to know what happened to those other species that didn't transition well. I want to know why a civilization that could clearly destroy us seems so careful around us." Dr. Alan Morris, who had joined the mission as scientific advisor, studied the data they'd been given. "The Council headquarters are 13 light-years away," he said. "With the drive technology they shared, we can be there in 3 months." Olivia nodded. "Then we prepare. Earth needs to know what we're really getting into." As the Pathfinder turned back toward Earth, None of them noticed the quiet message sent from the Zyraxian ship. First contact complete. They show no knowledge of the incident. Proceed with caution. 6 months after first contact, the human delegation approached the massive space station that served as the Galactic Council headquarters. The structure was enormous, a gleaming wheel spinning slowly in the darkness of space, with spokes extending from a central hub. Ships of various designs docked along its outer ring. Joseph Carter adjusted his tie nervously. At 53, he had spent his life as a diplomat, but nothing had prepared him for this. Next to him, Captain Sam Reeves stood at the viewport, her military posture never relaxing even after the 3-month journey. "Quite a sight," Sam said, her eyes tracking the alien vessels. "I count at least 15 different design philosophies. Some of those ships could swallow our entire fleet." Joseph nodded. "Remember our orders. We observe, we learn, and we find out what they're hiding." Their ship, the UNSC Discovery, docked at an assigned bay. A delegation of 3 species waited to greet them. The now familiar Zyraxians, a tall insect-like species called the Verex, and floating jellyfish-like creatures introduced as the Morith. "Welcome to Unity Station," said the Zyraxian ambassador. "The Council awaits your formal introduction." The central chamber of the Council was a vast amphitheater with tiered seating. Representatives from dozens of species filled the seats, many whispering as the humans entered. Joseph noticed some pointing, others leaning away. A large hologram appeared in the center, showing Earth spinning slowly. "We welcome the representatives of Sol 3, known to its inhabitants as Earth," announced a large, 6-limbed being from the highest tier. "The Council recognizes humans as a Class 3 emerging species with provisional membership status." After the ceremony, Joseph and Sam were shown to their quarters, a small suite that would serve as both living space and Earth's embassy for now. "What exactly does Class 3 mean?" Sam asked their Zyraxian guide. "It means you have achieved faster-than-light capability through assistance rather than independent development," the guide explained. "There are certain restrictions." The restrictions became clear at the first working session. Humans would not be allowed to establish colonies beyond their home system without Council approval. They could not independently trade with most species. Their ships would require Council observers on board. During a break, Joseph stepped into a garden area designed for multiple species to find comfortable rest. He chose a bench near a bubbling fountain and closed his eyes, processing everything he'd learned. "First time at Council?" asked a raspy voice. Joseph opened his eyes to see a reptilian being with iridescent scales and 4 arms. It wore a simple robe with markings Joseph couldn't read. "Yes, Joseph Carter, from Earth." "Krell, archivist from Draken," the being said, extending a clawed hand in what must have been a learned human gesture. "Earth, the human world. Your arrival has caused quite a stir. We've noticed. Everyone seems cautious around us." Krell's inner eyelids blinked. "You don't know. Interesting. Very interesting." Before Joseph could ask what he meant, 2 Verex officials passed by, chittering in their language. Joseph's translator picked up fragments. "Humans in restricted zone. Dangerous precedent. They don't know about the incident." "Good. Let's keep it that way." Joseph kept his expression neutral until they passed. "What incident?" he asked Krell once they were alone. The reptilian archivist looked uncomfortable. "I should not say. Council policy is clear about historical integration of new species. Yet everyone knows except us," Joseph said. "How can we properly represent our people if we're missing critical information?" Krell considered this. "The archives are accessible to all Council members, even provisional ones. Section 87X contains historical first contact records." The archivist stood. "I recommend reviewing them, especially those from approximately 200 of your Earth years ago." Later, Joseph found Sam in their quarters reviewing security protocols. "We need to access the archives," he said. "Everyone's keeping secrets about Earth, and I intend to find out why." Sam's eyes narrowed. I overheard something today. A group of military officials from different species were discussing defense strategies. One of them said, if the humans ever discover what they are capable of, the power balance of the entire council will shift. Joseph looked out the viewport at the vast space station, suddenly feeling very small and very concerned. What exactly did we do that has the most advanced species in the galaxy afraid of us? The archives were located in the lower levels of Unity Station. Joseph and Sam passed through several security checkpoints, their newly issued council badges granting them access. The final door opened into a vast room filled with glowing data terminals. Krell was waiting for them, his scaled hands moving quickly over a control panel. I should not be helping you, the archivist said, looking around nervously, but all species should know their own history. We appreciate it, Joseph said. What exactly are we looking for? The Vordax incident, Krell whispered. It happened 207 Earth years ago. Sam frowned. Who are the Vordax? Krell pulled up an image of a tall, muscular species with gray skin and bony ridges along their skulls. Once the most feared warriors in the galaxy, their empire conquered 12 systems before the Council united to stop them. And they came to Earth? Joseph asked. Yes. Krell's claws clicked against the controls, but the records are incomplete. The screen displayed a star map showing a fleet of Vordax ships approaching Earth's solar system. Reports detailed the invasion force. Over 300 vessels, 120,000 troops, enough firepower to reduce Earth's major cities to ash. This can't be right, Sam said. We had no space technology 200 years ago. We didn't even have planes in 1918. We would have been defenseless. Krell nodded. That is why the Vordax chose Earth. Your world showed signs of developing technology, rich resources, and a divided population. A perfect target. Joseph leaned closer to the screen. What happened next? The data became fragmented. The Vordax fleet entered Earth orbit. A few ships landed in remote areas. Then all communication ceased. Rescue ships sent 30 days later found no survivors. The Vordax homeworld reported a catastrophic defeat, but no details were ever provided. That's it? Sam asked. What about weapons used? Battle tactics? Unknown, Krell said. The Vordax never spoke of it. They withdrew from all conquered territories within a year, reformed their government, and requested peace with the Council. Joseph paced the room. This makes no sense. Earth has no record of an alien invasion in 1918. We were in the middle of World War I. Someone would have noticed alien ships. Krell's inner eyelids blinked rapidly. Perhaps your people did not recognize what they were seeing, or perhaps your governments hid the truth. Sam shook her head. Even so, how could we possibly have defeated them? We had no technology that could threaten their ships. That, Krell said, is the question that has haunted the Council for 2 centuries, and why many fear humans. He pulled up new data. After the incident, the Council classified Earth as a protected world, forbidding all contact until humans developed space travel independently. But why would the Vordax never explain what happened? Joseph asked. Pride, perhaps, Krell suggested, or shame, or possibly. He hesitated. Possibly what? Sam pressed. Fear, Krell finished. The Vordax were a species that glorified warfare, that saw death in battle as honorable. Yet something on Earth terrified them so completely they abandoned their entire way of life. Joseph studied the image of the Vordax. We need to find out what really happened. There is one more thing, Krell said quietly. A Vordax elder, near death, once told a council member, the humans didn't defeat us. We were winning. And then, they weren't even fighting us anymore. They didn't need to. Sam looked confused. What does that mean? I don't know, Krell admitted. But 3 months after the Vordax retreat, they petitioned the Council to include a new law. No biological materials of any kind were to be removed from Earth without special containment protocols. Joseph and Sam exchanged glances as understanding began to dawn. "We need to check Earth's records," Joseph said. "Not military records, medical ones." "Why?" Krell asked. "Because," Sam said slowly, 1918 wasn't just during World War I. It was also the start of the deadliest pandemic in our history. Back on Earth, Dr. Lauren Phillips sat in her office at the Centers for Disease Control, staring at the secure message from the Unity station. The request from Joseph and Sam seemed strange. Detailed information about the 1918 influenza pandemic, specifically any unusual cases or anomalies in the virus structure. Lauren pulled up the historical archives. The 1918 flu had killed an estimated 50 million people worldwide, more than World War I itself. What could this possibly have to do with alien contact? She picked up her phone. "Dr. Miller, can you come to my office? I need your expertise on something unusual." Dr. Frank Miller was the CDC's leading virologist, a quiet man with thick glasses and a reputation for seeing patterns others missed. Lauren explained the strange request. "Interesting timing," Frank said, scanning the message. The pandemic started right after several meteor showers were reported in remote areas. "Meteors?" Lauren asked. "Or something else?" Frank looked thoughtful. "There were always oddities about that pandemic. It killed healthy young adults more than the elderly, unlike most flu strains. And it spread incredibly fast, as if it had been introduced in multiple locations simultaneously." Lauren sent a request for any preserved samples from 1918. Hours later, they had access to tissue samples kept in deep freeze for over a century. "These haven't been properly examined with modern technology," Frank said as they worked. "Back then, they couldn't even see viruses, let alone sequence DNA. The analysis took days. When the results came in, Lauren stared at the screen in disbelief. "That can't be right," she said. "Run it again." Frank ran the tests 3 more times. The results were always the same. "We need to send this to Joseph and Sam immediately," Lauren said. On Unity Station, Joseph received the report during a council meeting about trade regulations. He excused himself and found Sam in the training facility, where she was sparring with a Draken security officer. "We need to talk," Joseph said, privately. In their quarters, Joseph showed Sam the report. The 1918 flu samples contained unknown DNA fragments that matched no known Earth species. More surprisingly, the human cells showed signs of a specific immune response, one that had never been documented before or since. "The pandemic wasn't just a virus," Joseph said. "It was our bodies reacting to alien biology and fighting back." Sam sat heavily in a chair. "You're saying the Vordax weren't defeated by weapons. They were defeated by our germs, like War of the Worlds." "Not exactly. According to Lauren, it was more complex. The Vordax biology interacted with Earth microbes, creating a new pathogen. But the real key was the human immune system. It's apparently far more aggressive than most species. So when the Vordax landed, they were exposed to Earth bacteria and viruses they had no defense against," Joseph finished. "And when infected humans fought back with powerful immune responses, it created a perfect storm, a super pathogen that spread through both populations." Sam looked troubled. "So we killed them with disease. Not exactly a noble victory." "Not intentionally," Joseph said. "It was just evolution. Earth life evolved in one of the most competitive biological environments in the galaxy. Our immune systems had to become incredibly strong and adaptable." The next day, they met with Krell in the archives again. The archivist wasn't surprised by their findings. "This explains much," he said, "including why the Council maintains strict biological protocols for Earth. Your world is a biological weapon by its very nature." "We need to report this to Earth," Sam said. "If our microbes are so dangerous, we need containment protocols of our own." Joseph nodded, but something still bothered him. The Vordax could have warned everyone about the biological threat. Why keep it secret? Krell's scales shifted color slightly. Perhaps they feared the truth more than defeat, that they were not conquered by superior technology or strategy, but by microscopic life they couldn't even see. Or perhaps what? Sam asked. Perhaps they feared what would happen if humans ever realized the power they naturally possess, Krell said quietly. And what might happen if humans ever decided to use it deliberately. Joseph stood at the viewport in the Unity Station's observation deck, watching ships come and go. 3 months had passed since their discovery about the Vordax incident. Earth now had biological containment protocols in place for all returning ships, and the Council had granted humans more freedom, though still with many restrictions. "There you are," Sam said, joining him at the window. "The Council meeting is about to start." Joseph nodded, but his attention was focused on a large black vessel docking at the far end of the station. "That's the third Krell warship this week." "The Krell Empire," Sam corrected, not to be confused with our friendly archivist. Different species, same name in translation. The Krell Empire had been a growing concern in recent council meetings. Unlike the Draken archivist Krell, these reptilian warriors had no interest in peaceful cooperation. They controlled 32 star systems on the far side of the galaxy and had been expanding aggressively. In the council chamber, the Krell Empire's ambassador stood at the center platform. His scales were deep crimson, and metal implants lined his jaw and forehead. "The Council's expansion restrictions are unacceptable," the ambassador said, his voice deep and threatening. "Resources in our sector are depleted. We have identified suitable worlds beyond our current boundaries. There are established protocols for expansion," the council leader replied. "All species must abide by them." The Krell ambassador's tail lashed angrily. "While we debate, my people grow hungry. We have identified a resource-rich system designated Sol. It contains multiple mining opportunities." Joseph felt his blood go cold. The Krell were talking about Earth's solar system. "Sol is already inhabited," the council leader said. "Earth is a protected world under Section 7 of the Charter." The Krell ambassador made a dismissive gesture. "The humans are a primitive Class 3 species barely off their planet. Their system has 8 other worlds suitable for mining. We would not disturb their home world." Initially, Sam leaned close to Joseph. "They're after our solar system. Mars, the asteroid belt, the moons of Jupiter and Saturn. All the resources." After the meeting, Joseph approached the Krell ambassador in the corridor. "Ambassador, I must object to your characterization of Earth as primitive. We are fully capable of defending our solar system." The Krell towered over Joseph, his reptilian eyes narrowing. "We have studied your capabilities, human. Your weapons are basic. Your ships are few. Your defenses are minimal. There's more to Earth than meets the eye," Joseph said carefully. "Have you heard of the Vordax incident?" The ambassador made a sound like laughter. "The Vordax myth. A story to frighten children. The mighty Vordax defeated by primitives. Impossible. I could provide you with the evidence." "Fabrications," the ambassador interrupted. "The Vordax became weak, nothing more. The Krell Empire is not weak." Later, Joseph met with the emergency committee formed to address the Krell threat. Representatives from 12 species sat around the table, looking grave. "Our intelligence suggests the Krell fleet is already mobilizing," said the Xeraxian military advisor. "They could reach Sol in 2 months." "The Council should enforce the Charter," Joseph argued. "Earth is a protected world." The council representative, a tall, willowy being with 4 arms, looked uncomfortable. "The charter requires a full council vote to authorize military intervention. Several members fear confronting the Krell would lead to wider war." "So Earth is on its own?" Sam asked. "Not entirely," said a Draken general. "We can provide some technology, but our forces are stretched thin protecting our own borders from the Krell." Joseph sent an urgent message to Earth with all the information they had gathered. The response came 3 days later during a private call with UNSC leadership. "We've started preparations," Commander Warren said, her face grim on the screen. "But we're outmatched. Their technology is centuries beyond ours. They don't believe the Vordax incident was real, Joseph explained. They think it's a myth. Commander Warren was silent for a moment. Then a small, dangerous smile appeared on her face. Then perhaps it's time they learned the truth, firsthand. What are you suggesting? Joseph asked. If they're coming to our home with hostile intent, Warren said, then we'll use every advantage we have, including the one advantage they don't believe exists. Back on Earth, preparations for the Krell invasion were in full swing. Military bases worldwide were on high alert. Civilian defense drills happened daily. Scientists worked around the clock developing new weapons and defenses. In a secure underground facility beneath the CDC, Dr. Frank Miller led a team of the world's best virologists, microbiologists, and immunologists. The room buzzed with activity as researchers in sealed suits moved between workstations. Commander Warren stood at the observation window with Joseph and Sam, who had returned to Earth to help coordinate defenses. Is this ethical? Joseph asked, watching the scientists work, using biological weapons. They're coming to take our entire solar system, Warren replied, to strip mine our planets and eventually force us off Earth. What choice do we have? Dr. Miller approached them, removing his mask as he entered the clean room. His face looked tired, with dark circles under his eyes. We've isolated the key factors from the 1918 incident, he explained. It wasn't just one microbe that affected the Vordax. It was the combination of several Earth bacteria and viruses, plus the human immune response. Can you replicate it? Warren asked. Miller nodded slowly. Yes, but with modifications. We're not creating a pandemic. These microbes are designed to target technology, not biology. Explain, Sam said. The Krell will have studied the Vordax records. They'll wear sealed environmental suits, so instead of targeting their biology directly, we're creating microbes that can eat through their suit materials, disable their filters, and disrupt their tech. Joseph frowned. Won't they have defenses against that too? That's the beauty of Earth microbes, Miller said with a small smile. They evolve rapidly. Whatever defenses the Krell have, our microbes will adapt. That's what the Vordax never expected, how quickly Earth life can change to overcome obstacles. At a UNSC meeting the next day, global leaders debated the plan. We can't just rely on germs, said the Russian representative. We need conventional defenses too. Agreed, Warren said. The microbial strategy is our backup. We've received some technology from our allies on the Council, shields for our major cities, improved weapons for our fighters. We'll fight with everything we have. The Chinese general studied the defense plans. These microbes, they won't harm Earth life. No, Miller assured him. They're specifically designed to target materials and compounds not found naturally on Earth. They'll break down after a few weeks without those compounds to feed on. The debate continued for hours. Some argued against biological warfare on moral grounds. Others saw no alternative against such a technologically superior enemy. Finally, the UNSC president stood. We didn't ask for this fight. We've tried diplomacy. But the Krell are coming to take our home. We use every advantage we have. Joseph returned to his temporary office after the meeting. On his desk was a secure tablet with a message from Krell, their archivist friend, not the invaders. The Krell fleet has departed. The message read, 173 warships, 42,000 troops. The Council remains deadlocked. I am sorry, my friend. But know this, many are watching. What happens next may change galactic politics forever. Joseph thought for a moment, then typed a response. Tell the Council representatives this. There's a reason the Vordax never speak of Earth. That evening, Joseph stood on the roof of the UNSC building with Sam, looking at the stars. 1 week until they arrive. Sam said quietly. Are we doing the right thing? Joseph asked. Sam considered the question. They're coming to take everything from us. They dismissed all warnings. They laughed at the idea that we could be dangerous. She paused. Maybe it's time they learned why the most advanced species in the galaxy treat humans with such caution. In labs around the world, scientists package microscopic weapons into delivery systems. On military bases, pilots prepared for battle in retrofitted fighters. And in homes everywhere, families huddled together, unaware that humanity's greatest defense wasn't the weapons being prepared, but the invisible allies that had evolved alongside them for millions of years. The Krell fleet appeared in Earth's orbit on a Tuesday morning. One moment the skies were clear, the next they were filled with massive black ships that blocked out the sun in some areas. People around the world stopped and stared upward, many recording the sight on their phones despite the emergency broadcasts telling them to seek shelter. From the UNSC Command Center, Commander Warren watched the tactical display as red dots appeared over major cities and resource-rich areas. "They're deploying ground forces," she said, "just as we predicted." Joseph and Sam stood nearby, tension visible in their faces. The plan was in motion, but still, seeing the invasion forces arrive made everything suddenly, terrifyingly real. Krell landing craft detected in North America, Asia, Europe, and Australia, reported the tactical officer. Estimated 500 troops per craft. "They're targeting our major resource deposits," Sam noted, studying the landing patterns. "Oil fields, mineral mines, uranium deposits." Outside Beijing, a Krell landing craft descended near a large mining operation. As the massive doors opened, troops in sealed environmental suits emerged. Their weapons were unlike anything seen on Earth: rifles that fired energy pulses, shoulder-mounted launchers, and armor that seemed to shimmer with energy fields. Similar scenes played out worldwide. The Krell moved with military precision, securing their landing zones and beginning to set up bases. When Earth military forces engaged them, the results were predictable. Tank shells bounced off Krell energy shields. Fighter jets were swatted from the sky by defense systems. Infantry weapons barely damaged the Krell armor. "Our conventional forces are taking heavy losses," Warren reported grimly. New York, London, Moscow, all reporting Krell advances. "They studied the Vordax records well," Joseph observed. "Look at those suits, completely sealed. Triple-filtered air systems. They're prepared for biological threats." Dr. Miller entered the command center, his tablet displaying real-time data. "The delivery systems are ready." "We need your authorization, Commander." Warren nodded grimly. "Deploy the countermeasures." Around the world, specially designed drones lifted off from hidden locations. Too small for the Krell defense systems to target effectively, they headed toward the invaders' positions. In Sydney, a swarm of drones flew over a Krell forward base. They released fine mists that settled on the aliens' equipment, ships, and suits. To the Krell, it appeared to be nothing more than a failed attack. Their sensors detected no toxins, no radiation, nothing that registered as an immediate threat. 6 hours later, a Krell soldier outside Moscow noticed something odd. The seals on his suit seemed softer. When he touched his wrist controls, the material felt slightly sticky. In Cape Town, a Krell commander reported problems with their communication systems. The biofilms that powered their quantum relays were degrading faster than normal. Engineers could find no cause. By the next morning, reports came in from Krell bases worldwide. Environmental suits were failing. Equipment was malfunctioning. The microbes had begun their work, eating through seals, disrupting electronics, contaminating the Krell's carefully controlled environments. "It's working," Miller said, showing Joseph and Sam the incoming data. "But the Krell are adapting too. They're changing their suit materials, deploying countermeasures." "Can our microbes keep up?" Joseph asked. Miller smiled slightly. "That's the thing about Earth microbes. They evolve faster than almost anything in the galaxy. For every countermeasure they deploy, our microbes adapt within hours." In the Krell command ship orbiting Earth, the Supreme Commander received increasingly desperate reports from ground forces. What had begun as small equipment failures had cascaded into a crisis. Soldiers were falling ill as their suits failed completely. Bases were reporting critical systems failures. "We need to withdraw and regroup," his second-in-command urged. "Something is attacking our technology at the molecular level." The Supreme Commander stared at the blue planet below. "Impossible. They're primitives." As he spoke, the lights on his command console flickered. The air filtration system gave a strange whine, and a small, almost invisible film of moisture began to form on the inside of the supposedly sterile command center window. 3 weeks after the invasion began, the last Krell ship limped away from Earth's solar system. The once mighty fleet was reduced to less than 50 vessels, most with critical systems failing. On Earth, abandoned Krell equipment stood in silent testimony to their hasty retreat. In the UNSC headquarters, Joseph, Sam, and Commander Warren watched the long-range sensors as the Krell crossed beyond the orbit of Neptune. "They're gone," Warren said, allowing herself a small smile. "We did it." "Not without cost," Sam reminded her. Thousands had died in the initial attacks. Cities had been damaged. It would take years to rebuild. "We've received a message from the Council," Joseph said, checking his tablet. "An emergency session has been called. They request Earth's presence." 2 days later, Joseph and Sam stood again in the Council chambers. This time, the mood was different. The whispers were still there, but now tinged with awe rather than fear. The Council leader addressed the assembled representatives. "The defeat of the Krell invasion force is unprecedented. Their empire has agreed to withdraw from 3 recently conquered systems and has requested peace negotiations." Joseph stepped forward. "Earth did what was necessary to defend itself. We seek no conquest, no expansion at others' expense. We ask only to be left in peace. The Council recognizes Earth's right to self-defense," the leader continued. "In light of recent events, we are reclassifying Earth from Class 3 emerging species to protected independent species with full autonomy." After the session, Joseph and Sam were approached by many representatives offering congratulations and, more significantly, trade agreements and alliance proposals. "Everyone wants to be our friend now," Sam observed dryly. "Fear and respect often look similar in diplomacy," Joseph replied. Their old friend Krell the archivist found them in the garden area where they had first met. His scales had a new, brighter sheen to them. "I have been promoted," he explained, "Chief Historian of the Council. My first task is to create a comprehensive record of the Earth-Krell conflict." "Will it be sealed like the Vordax incident?" Joseph asked. "No," Krell said. "The Council believes it should be available to all species. As a reminder." Sam raised an eyebrow. "A reminder of what?" "Of the unspoken rule that is now very much spoken," Krell replied with a gesture that resembled a smile. "Don't mess with humans." 6 months later, the Earth Embassy on Unity Station was officially opened. Joseph, now Earth's permanent ambassador, stood before the gathered dignitaries. The embassy was larger than those of many long-standing council members, a tacit acknowledgement of Earth's new status. "Earth thanks the Council for this recognition," Joseph said in his speech. "We come in peace, seeking knowledge and friendship. Our unique biology is both our strength and our responsibility. We pledge to use it only in defense, never in conquest." Later that evening, Joseph overheard 2 young diplomats, one Xeraxian, one Draken, talking quietly in a corner. "My first posting, and I get assigned to human diplomatic security," the Xeraxian was saying. "Is it as dangerous as they say?" "Just remember the first rule they taught us at the academy," the Draken replied. "Don't mess with humans. They don't even need weapons to destroy you." Joseph smiled to himself and continued his rounds of the reception. On a wall near the entrance, a small plaque had been installed that morning. It was written in 37 languages and had been carefully worded by Earth's finest diplomats. It read simply, "We come in peace, but we're well equipped to respond otherwise." On Earth, life returned to normal. People rebuilt. Children went to school. Scientists studied the Krell technology left behind. And in secure laboratories, Dr. Miller and his team continued their work, developing new protections and countermeasures, just in case. For in the vast darkness between the stars, many eyes now watched the small blue planet with new understanding. Earth was no longer seen as a primitive world of little consequence. It was respected. It was feared. It was left alone. The unspoken rule had become the most important rule in galactic diplomacy. Don't mess with humans.